Welcome back. The Economic Freedom Fighters members are making their way to Johannesburg for the party's third National People's Conference. Plagued by changes recently, the party is set to elect new leadership and review the party's work since its inception in 2019. We are now joined by the EFF's Northern Cape Provincial Chairperson, Shadrack Tlhaole, who's joining us in studio to have this conversation. And joining us virtually is Professor Dirk Kotzé, who's a political scientist at the University of South Africa, to unpack some of the progress as well as some of the failures of the party. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. How are you feeling ahead of the conference?
No, we are very happy, but let me start by greeting your viewers and say thank you, Adrian, for hosting us.
Okay, I want to start off here just quickly before we go into what's expected to happen in the conference. The 2024 elections happened. The ANC was pushed below the majority threshold in the Northern Cape. I think at around 49.35%. What conversation then happened? Why was the EFF not able to build a coalition with the ANC in their province?
No, thank you. I think you will know that the decision on how the coalition government should be created is within the prescript of the national leadership, but also we are taking into consideration as a provinces to engage with all political parties in the province, which I can tell you that we've never had any engagement with the ANC. And we're happy that the ANC has lost its majority in the Northern Cape and they're below 50%. And that is a sign that they will continue dropping because of the EFF is growing in that province. And the people of the Northern Cape believes that the EFF is the future.
Yeah. Are you saying that the ANC didn't approach you?
The ANC never approached us.
Okay.
And we are saying this because we expected that all political parties must engage. By the look of things, they did not do that because of they don't want to. They did that because of they knew that should they give the EFF an opportunity, we are going to outshine them. Outshining them by making sure that we give our people the better service delivery that they could not give.
Okay. Prof Kotzé, I want to start off on that point as well. A very good morning to you. When the political and the organizational report is delivered later on at the start of the conference, do you think that the party secretary general as well as the party leader should also be reflecting on what led to the EFF not being able to move towards a coalition government with the ANC, whether it is at a national level or even at some of the provincial levels?
Yes, I think that will become one of the points. It is something which I think the EFF now, after the formation of the Government of National Unity, is reconsidering the approach that they followed. We heard, I couldn't confirm it, but we heard that there were differences amongst the top leadership of the EFF, whether they should participate in it right in the beginning. And the version from the ANC side is that the EFF did not want to participate if some concessions were not made. You know, the most famous one of these is about Floyd Shivambu becoming the Minister of Finance, which was not acceptable by the ANC. So I think at a relatively early stage, the EFF's approach in the negotiations was that of either-or situation. If you don't accept it, then we are not willing to continue further in a type of a dialogue or reaching some other compromises in the negotiations. Yeah. I would think that the EFF will privately, not in public, but privately will say that that was possibly an incorrect or inappropriate negotiations approach. Yeah. With regard to Northern Cape, just maybe quickly, the ANC actually, because it's such a small provincial legislature, had enough votes on their own. They didn't need any party to elect the Premier. It was only the Patriotic Alliance and Freedom Front Plus who did it, but they were actually not very much necessary for it.
Okay, let me just quickly then move on to this part. I know that you disagree on this point. Do you quickly want to do it? Okay, couple of seconds.
No,
quickly.
I disagree because of the ANC got less 50%. So
it's not an outright majority.
It's not an outright majority. So if Prof says that They did not need anyone. I don't agree with him. I totally and vehemently disagree with that. The ANC needed at least one person. Hence, they engaged the Freedom Front Plus and the Patriotic Alliance.
Yeah. Okay, so since the formation of the EFF could claim and use the phrase the only political party that has been growing since its inception. 2024 then proved that actually now that can't be the phrase that you use anymore. The party has now taken a decision that KZN as well as the Western Cape will not be participating, or rather they will not have, in terms of the province itself, will not have voting rights in the conference. Did we understand that correctly?
No, you did not understood it correctly. The CCT said and agreed that delegates to the National People's Assembly should come from branches that at least got 10% of its support from the branches where they are coming from. That would be that would give us one delegate per branch. And in this instance, the KZN got a delegation that are voting delegates to the National People's Assembly and also the Western Cape. So there's no province that is not participating in this National People's Assembly. And we did that as the leadership because of it also encourages members of the EFF that whenever they are deployed, they must put more effort in order to claim or secure their space. It should not be something that you'll just, that you'll get it even if we have not worked hard. So we believe in this to be a very good decision that will build the EFF moving forward. As for what you are saying that maybe the EFF has declined or we did not do good, look, my brother, we can tell you that from 2014 we've got 6%, and we will only say that we have declined if we would go below that 6%.
No, but the fact is that you
no,
did
I'm
decline.
coming to that.
Yeah.
I will only say that we have come to decline if we only have less than 6% because of that was the base that we have started on. And now the percentage that has grown, the people of South Africa says to us that we do believe in you as the economic freedom fighters. Go and put more effort and work hard so that you grow and do much better in the next elections.
Yeah, no, but my emphasis is that the only growing party, meaning present continuous tense, and if we use growing, you haven't been growing. I want to quickly get into this part that could be related to the growing part, and I'll hear Prof's take on this as well. Heading into the EFF's celebrations that were taking place last year, the decision was also taken that councillors that are not able to meet the quota in terms of the number of buses that are expected to bus EFF supporters to the FNB Stadium, that some of those councillors would actually essentially lose their positions.
No, it was not only the criteria used.
Yes.
The criteria that was used was that we need committed individuals. And committed individuals are those who, even if it's difficult for them to get the mandate across, they would come to the leadership and say, we were given this mandate and we could not implement it, and let's talk about it. But those that did not do that and not communicated it with the leadership only came to realize that not telling the leadership that information was also misleading.
Could that have had an impact on your electoral fortunes, do you think?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
You don't think that somebody who's been voted in a position by people in the community, once that person loses that position, that could also mean that, well, now there is nobody else that the people in that community can vote for in terms of an EFF candidate?
We don't derive our mandate from individuals. Our mandate derives from the collective, which is a branch. So if you look into how we have performed, it is not because of Shadrack, but because of the policies of the organization. And that's one thing that we are working on and check if is there anything that we must improve. Because if we'll put the policies of this organization to an individual, that will be failing, because of ours is to implement resolutions that were given to us by the people of South Africa through the EFF.
Prof, is that your understanding as well of how politics works when it comes to the popular vote? What happens on the ground?
Well, I think in theory, yes, but in practice, I think what has happened has been detrimental for the EFF, because ultimately, whether it is a branch or is a national, it's persons, it's people who must play that role. It's not just an organic process. And I think that is where the EFF last year, they had a very successful anniversary, the 10th anniversary. But what happened afterwards in terms of losing, and for whatever reason, but quite a number of the public representatives definitely made an impact on them. It's not necessarily about who's the candidate, but it is about those people who have institutional memory, they work within the system of the EFF, they are part of the machinery of the EFF, And if you lose such a significant component of it, then it does have an impact on the organizational capacity of the EFF. And I think this is exactly what has happened to a large extent. At the same time, it creates the impression that decisions are taken at the center, and it creates in some cases the idea that, if you are not in line with or very close to the center, then you run the risk of receiving a message to say you are out. And I think this is where political parties and the idea of internal democratic practices within parties is such a decisive but delicate factor that must be taken into account.
Let me quickly ask you this, Prof. So, of course, the elective conference is taking place. Julius Malema is expected to stand once again for the top position of the CIC of the EFF. What should be read into that, considering back in 2016, and I'll come back to you, Shadrack, on this point as well, that back in 2016, Julius Malema had said that, listen, I'm just looking to serve 2 terms and then I'm going to leave. But that hasn't happened, of course. Now it's decided that he is going to stand for a 3rd term. In terms of the rejuvenating of the party, and how do you ensure that the party is a party that is able to respond to the needs of the people currently?
Well, I think if we look at, think about the EFF, then Julius Malema is very much synonymous with it. He has become a personification of the EFF. He's the pull factor to the EFF to a large extent, together with the others, but that is his position. He plays that national role. And if he will disappear from the scene or be succeeded by someone else who does not have that same national prominence, I think the EFF will struggle with it, because whether you like it or not, he is the one that at this stage attracts the supporters to the EFF. He, as I said, he personifies what the EFF stands for. And I think at the same time, he is concerned about the emergence of the MK party, the fact that the EFF have lost, especially in their 2 strongest or biggest provinces, KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. Incidentally, in Northern Cape, they did the best in all the provinces, percentage-wise. But how to turn around the EFF, I think Julius Malema and the people close to him believe that at the moment he's the only person who can really beat that process.
Okay.
So for the long term, I think the EFF will have to start to think about the succession process. But at the moment, they are at a critical moment, and they have to consolidate around that.
Okay, Shadrack, your take on this. And as a province, are you guys also supporting Julius Malema for re-election?
Indeed, we are supporting President Julius Malema to be elected, not re-elected, because of his term comes to an end today. And branches have the right to elect whoever that they want as the president of the organization. And in this instance, we have been lobbied, and we are also lobbying that President Julius Malema should be the president of the economic freedom fighters moving forward. And we do so believing that he is the candidate that will build the EFF beyond everything that we are looking into. We believe that Julius Malema, as a person, has demonstrated interest of the people of South Africa and Africa, not only the EFF, who went beyond our organization in molding who want to be in the country.
For deputy president position?
Look, we still have continuous engagement, but we cannot tell you in this interview that who do we think should be the deputy president of the organization. But we are looking into it, and we believe that convincing each other is what is needed. Is
Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi one of those potential candidates?
Dr. Mbuyiseni is part of the National People's Assembly, is a CCT member, and is going to participate as a delegate to the National People's Assembly. So everyone...
Have you been lobbied to support him?
Come again?
Have you been lobbied to support him?
We have been lobbied to support him, and we have engaged everyone. So there are views that we have considered, and there are views that branches are considering, but we are saying everyone who is a delegate of the EFF has the right to be elected.
Which position was he lobbied for?
To be the CCT member of the EFF.
Any of the top 6 positions?
The CCT members of the EFF.
Any top 6 positions?
The EFF position starts from president to the last additional member.
Yeah, but you were clear on the president. What about the other positions?
I'm clear on the president because of that's what we have agreed upon as provinces and branches of the EFF.